When they're building the radio station there at Brora, my father was a labourer on it. And if his lunch bag wasn't ready, I used to have to get down there on the beach and run along to the radio station with it. So I was conscious of these big stones in the face of the bank. I never ever knew what was in there. It was all covered over except for this huge stones showing out. So I just never thought of it before. Walked back and forth there to the village on the beach quite often enough, but never thought that Brora had this history. I live on the croft here and have done for the last 80 years or so in this area called Doll, crofting area just south of the village of Brora, and I'm the oldest inhabitant now in this Doll area. It's changed a lot since I can remember. Even the fence that's down there, that's the 5th new fence that I've seen over the years. I mean, we've played football out in the rocks. That was grass in our young days, but then with the coastal erosion that came in, and they didn't just put a new fence a couple of feet, they went yards in with the fence, so there's a lot of land being lost to coastal erosion.
When I was really young, I used to come down and play down here. This is the back beach at Brora. And there were bits of wall, kind of some on the beach, lying on the beach, some in sand dunes, and we used to play on them.
And we didn't really know what they were all about, but we had heard in the village things like there's coal roads down the beach, and that's where the old saltpans used to be. I didn't really know what that meant.
And then it wasn't until I did a course with Aberdeen University and I got really interested in archaeology. And it was just doing the bits of research then I realised that they were salt pans.
They were part of the old industrial history of Brora, and they were unrecorded. And these walls were eroding into the sea, and it seemed to me that it was quite an important historical site. So it was at that stage, through the Scape Trust, we organised a proper archaeological survey.
The Scape Trust is a charity that was organised about 14 years ago, and Scape stands for Scotland's Coastal Archaeology and the Problem of Erosion. Scape started off with the idea that we would just look for sites and gather data, but it soon grew into involving communities and then actually undertaking projects, and we're trying to be as innovative and, well, as interesting as possible with our projects to try and involve as many people as we can. Archaeology is one of these great subjects where you can bring all sorts of different things in together and mix them up, and we're able to tell people about all of this different stuff. And of course climate change is one of the messages that we are able to talk about. I was first alerted about the site at Brora from the local Heritage Society, and they asked me to come down and look at these walls on this beach. And the walls were about 6 feet high, and there was a doorway, and we went along and we recorded them. And then a few months later I came back and the sea had got in and knocked one of the walls down, and I was thinking, this is quite serious. And so we started a process of community excavation, and there was a huge turnout from the community here, and 3 or 4 professional archaeologists, and everybody else involved was a member of the local community.
I got involved in the project at Brora in 2010. Jackie Aitken, she got me involved through Klein Heritage Society, and I got back every year ever since. We were trying to record the archaeology of the Brora salt pans before it was completely engulfed by the sea, and now in 2014 the place has changed so much. The building that we were excavating in 2011, that's completely vanished now, so a big change in just 4 years. It was quite sad seeing the building in a ruin really, just after such a short period of time, and a lot of work we did in there as well.
The coast has always been changing. It's a highly dynamic place, and it's quite easy to think that if a coast has gone back by, let's say, 100 feet in 100 years, that it means that it's eroding at 1 foot per year, but that isn't the case. What we find, and we use aerial photographs and old maps to go and check this, but what we find is quite often an area of coast can be stable for a long period, and then it can be one storm which will cause all the damage. Now with climate change, there is a prediction amongst climate change specialists that we are going to get more storms and more intense storms. So not only will they be more frequent, but they will be more intense. And more frequent and more intense storms means that we are going to have more damage to the coast. And in Britain over the last winter, we've certainly been seeing that.
I think what the Brora saltpans excavation has demonstrated to our local community, to the wider archaeological world and visitors to the area, that things can happen really quickly. Change can take place very quickly. Now, a lot of people do say that, we can't believe how quick things are changing on the beach. They understand that the landscape is not a static environment. Weather conditions, so many different things, the tides can affect what happens on the coast. For many, many years, I'm sure people thought the heritage of Brora was intact, but we proved with the Brora saltpans, they're still eroding away as we speak.
Brora is a stark testament to what coastal erosion is all about. And when people see that, it makes them start to think about coastal erosion and what is causing coastal erosion, and that is climate change, or there is the possibility that it's linked with climate change, and so it starts the whole discussion. We know that locally here in Brora, people have been saying, that's amazing what happened. They have seen something tangible which was there one day and the next day it was lying on the beach, and it's really started a discussion about climate change.
Climate change for me is quite a worry because just seeing it in the past 4 years, the changes in our own local area, it's such a vast change. So it makes you think what's going to happen within the next 20 years, it's a worry. At Brora, the link between cultural heritage and climate change, it's there, and it is a perfect opportunity to educate the community and visitors about what's happening here and the problems that both face.
Lucky we did the dig 2 years ago and got all this information, and it's all catalogued, and the finds that were there, they weren't swept away. History wasn't swept away. The sea didn't take the history away, because it was sad in a way, but happy that the dig went ahead and we got all this information that was live forever.
And if you think about Scotland's major cities, Glasgow, Edinburgh, Dundee, Inverness, they're all on the sea. And so the sea has been incredibly important. We have lots and lots of islands and things like that, and lots of small villages. And they all have a very strong local identity. And because of these strong local traditions, it means that the cultural heritage is very much interwoven within the society in Scotland. So we still have hundreds of sites which are threatened, and we have limited resources. So what we're doing now is we're asking the public to nominate the sites that they would like to work at. And so we're using the concept of public value, and then we will work with them to raise the funds and bring in the professionals to work with them on the projects and help them design the projects as well. And in this way, we're hoping to get through that list of the most at-risk, valuable sites in Scotland. But obviously things have been happening in many, many countries around the world. So there's some great projects being run, for example, by NARBO, that's the North Atlantic Biocultural Organisation, who are working with partners and organisations all around the North Atlantic, in the Nordic countries and Scotland and elsewhere, on sites which are being affected by climate change. And then there's GEAR, the Global Human Ecodynamics Alliance, who again have sites going all around the world actually, where people are starting to look at how climate change is affecting archaeological sites. I mean, it's going to take a bit of time, but at least we're doing something. It's better than doing nothing, because if you do nothing, doing nothing is letting the site be destroyed.